Hello everybody. Thank you for joining me again tonight. Just want to say how grateful I was to everybody for joining me on the first episode about Gorton. That was 2 weeks ago. In that time me and Emma have been researching this area we're going to talk about tonight. Then I've been writing the script for it, then we've been rehearsing it, and we're spending a bit of money on the studio setup, so it's a little bit better than last time, better quality cameras, things like that. Again, if you can donate to the virtual tip jar, that would be brilliant, because as I said last time, that my performances stopped on March the 13th, and there doesn't seem to be any well, we don't have a clue how long this is going to go on for, do we? They're talking of that pubs and things like that, theatres, it may be Christmas before they reopen. And I think that will probably cover what I do, because people are in close proximity to each other. So this is the only way I can earn money at the moment. Because of your money that we raised last time, you've helped to keep a roof over my head, keep some food in our stomachs, and we're not just on gruel any longer. We're now on well, we can afford bread and butter. But please give generously if you can. This is I want to create brand new content, so that's what I've done this time, so that you're not paying for the same thing again. You're paying for the new performance, the new show. And you know, the PayPal is on this link, how to donate. It'll also be at the end of the programme, and it's on the website. So if you go on the Facebook Live website, manchestergosport.co.uk, onto the Facebook page, you'll see how you can donate very quickly with PayPal. But if you haven't got a PayPal account, how you can do it via PayPal, but using a Visa or debit card. So please enjoy tonight. Please give generously. Thank you so much. I miss you all immensely, and hope you're all keeping safe and well. Thank you, and over to Flecky.
It's Flecky, it's Friday, it's Flecky Bennett Friday, it's Flecky, it's Friday, it's Flecky'S Fright Night.
Hello, my friends. How are you all doing out there? Hope you can hear me loudly and clearly. We've had a hell of a job with the microphones. Let me have a look at you tonight. Oh, hello. How are you all? Good to see you, my friends. I hope you're all well and keeping safe and keeping social distancing and all that malarkey which goes with it. And it's good to have you back, my friends. Flecky Bennett's here, Ghost Walker extraordinaire. Well, that's what they said anyway, you know. And let's have a look at you lot over here. Let's have a look at you. Ooh, still not put your pants on yet. You've been in your undies since the last 2 weeks. Oh, I like it, I like it. Ooh. So, my friends, hey, what do you think? We've got a new backdrop. Look at that there, a new backdrop, and all sorts going on tonight. The dry ice machine is working, I think. Let's just give it a try out. I hope the sound's okay, everybody. Have you got your glasses of wine or your cans of beer or whatever you drink these days? I know we've got Joe from the Cracked Actor watching. He likes a good drink. Cheers, everybody. So yeah, we've been working hard since the last one, and that was about Gorton, and I cannot believe how generous people were to keep Flecky Bennett Productions ticking over. But I won't go on about it again, but if you can donate on the virtual tip jar, please do. So since then, we've spent 2 weeks researching Ashton-Under-Lyne and then writing the scripts out and rehearsing it and trying to get this technical side of things right. So hopefully it should run smoothly, unlike last week when it went off at the beginning. So it's good to see you all. I'm going to talk a bit about Ashton-Under-Lyne. We're going to have a few little breaks to raise our glasses. And then at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session. And yeah. Now, Some of you I know are from Ashton-Under-Lyne, and some of you may still live there, and some of you may have moved on, but still talk to me, because a lot of my audience has said to me, hey, Flecky, why don't you do one in Ashton-Under-Lyne? I went, oh, well, I don't know. Let's give it a try. So it seemed the perfect, choice for the next Flecky Bennett Facebook Live. And so what's it all about? Let's think about the name first of all. Ashton-Under-Lyne, L-Y-N-E. Now, nobody's quite sure what the underline bit means. Some people said it's because it's under the line of the Pennines. Other people said it's because of lime pits that used to be there. Spelled differently, but they believe it could be to do with the lime pits. So nobody knows what the underline bit is, but Ashton is dead easy. It's all to do with the ash trees. It was the town of ash trees. So it was Ash Town, and now it became Ashton. And ash trees are quite a mysterious, magical tree. The Vikings used to believe that the roots of the ash tree reached into hell itself. Oh, yes. And the branches reached up to the heavens. Oh, yes. Heaven and hell. Let me talk to you over here for a second. Reaching into hell are the roots. Well, that's what the Vikings used to believe. And they also used to believe that if you burnt ash wood, it would ward off evil spirits. Evil! 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 Yes, so the ash tree is quite a strange tree. So, I love, and I think some of you probably do as well, a writer called M.R. James. I think his most famous one is Whistle and I Will Come to You, My Lad. If you've seen it, it's absolutely terrifying. It's black and white. There's hardly any words spoken, but it is absolutely, once you've seen it, you'll never forget it. You can watch it for free on YouTube. Whistle and I Will Come to You, my friend. And yes, but he wrote one about the ash tree, and it's called M.R. James Ash Tree. And I don't know if Emma's shown you a picture of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've looked at the ash tree, or you're looking at it right now, should I say. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's a terrifying, terrifying story. It's about a witch. Well, it's about a woman that was accused of being a witch and murdered for being a witch. And she went missing. Her body went missing out of the grave. And then they found it inside the bark of the tree. Have a look at this. Inside the bark of the tree was the witch with all her giant spider babies. Absolutely terrifying. Oh, yes. You know what I mean? Pretty scary stuff. And that's the M.R. James thought about the ash tree and its, its reputation of being quite a strange tree. So Ashton is named after a very strange tree indeed. So yes, let's talk a little bit about Ashton. Now, I've been a few times, but I've not been recently, but I've never been to this place. There is a place in Ashton right above called Hart's Head Pike. And there's a tower on top, Hart's Head Tower. It used to be a tourist sort of attraction. It used to have a sweet shop inside. And yeah, you're looking at it now, aren't you? It had a sweet shop inside, and you used to be able to pay an entrance fee to go up the stairs to right to the top of the tower. And they used to say, even now, if you go up there, you can see as far as Pendle Hill. Oh, and I know some of you have been to Pendle Hill, haven't you, in your time? Where the witches are in Pendle, where the witches are in Pendle. Are you there? Are you there? Yes. Do you know, my granddad used to tell me, and I don't know if it's true or not, because if Pendle Hill is sort of like a hill that goes down and swoops off, like a ski jump, really, he said that's where the witches run down and take off on their broomsticks. We're not taking me back. Oh, you're looking at oh yes, you're looking at the brooms, aren't you? Yes, so there they are, the old witches flying along on their broomsticks. So you can still see that from the top of Hart's Head Pike. Yes, so they're flying on the broomsticks. Now, wood, the ones that witches use, the wooden ones, well, they're made from ash wood. They're made because of the mysterious and the property of protection from evil. They have it in the wood, so they use ash tree wands. Can we have a look at the ash tree wands, Emma?
Can.
Yes, there you go, you see. Yeah, there's an old witch with the old, and wizards use the same thing. Yeah, so, it's quite amazing. These wands and everything are made from only the ash tree. So that is a kind of wood that belongs to a witch, or witch wood. Now, a few of you out there, I know you like a drink, and there's quite a lot of pubs in Ashton, believe me. I've been round, I think, most of them. But there's a great little music venue, and it's a pub called the Witchwood. Some of you will have been, some of you will probably give me thumbs up and all sorts of stuff. It's a great little venue. I've seen comedians there like Charlie Chuck, Ekin Bow Wow, One-Eyed Dog. I've seen my friend Dawn, if she's watching, play there. I've seen other bands play there. And apparently Muse played there back in the day. So it's quite a famous little place. It's been threatened with destruction and closure for many years, but there's always like a petition and it always seems to survive. So that's the wood from the Witchwood. So yeah, there's lots of pubs in Ashton-Under-Lyne. It's a drinker's paradise, really. And we all know one of the best pubs. Well, I don't know anymore since what he did about Corona, Wetherspoons. I know we've all got different opinions now. Whether I'll go into Wetherspoons again, I'm not sure. But there's a Wetherspoons in Ashton-Under-Lyne. It's built in an old cinema complex, apparently. And it's called the Ash Tree. So there you go, just to confirm that I'm not bullshitting you. Oh, by the way, this is an adult performance of sex, violence, bad language and nudity. So if there's children watches, I will be swearing a little bit. So yeah, it's called the Ash Tree, the Wetherspoons. Now, we all know that Wetherspoons are pretty cheap. Not as cheap as they used to be, but pretty cheap. But if you wanted a real bargain, you would go to a pub called Molly Malone's. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about Molly Malone's. Before it was Molly Malone's, that building, if you go to the site of it, there's a blue plaque on the wall. Let's have a look at that blue plaque, Emma. And it's where Mr. Brooks basically invented PG tips inside that building. Yes, PG tips, the ones that I used to have, the chimpanzees, not the one from Bellevue, but a chimpanzee. I know it's not PC and I'm glad they've stopped it, but that's how it used to be. The chimps used to advertise that. So PG tips. But if drinking tea is not your cup of tea and you like a good pint, well, Molly Malone's was perfect. It was one of these pubs where you could pay one entrance fee and then drink as much as you wanted all night. Basically, fill your boots. You know that term, fill your boots? I thought, what does that mean? Well, people used to actually fill their boots. They used to drink as much as they wanted, eat as much in these taverns, and then put the food and drink down their boots to save it while they got home. That's what it means, fill your boots. So you'd fill your boots all night inside the tavern, inside Molly Malone's, and you could get absolutely bladdered. Now, obviously, when they started talking about, binge drinking, they realised that these places are no good. There used to be quite a few of these places about that you could drink and pay one price and then drink as much as you wanted all night. Most of them have closed down, but there is still one that I know of, and it's in the centre of Manchester. I bet you don't know this, everybody. Well, let me tell you. In the centre of Manchester, on Oxford Road, there's a place. It's £4.80 to get in, and you can drink as much as you want all day long. It's called Manchester Aquatics Centre. Are you having that? Are you having that, Emma?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she's having that. Let's have a look at Emma behind the camera. Let's have a look at her.
Oh, do we have to?
Oh, yes, have a look at Emma. Come on, there's Emma. There you are. Have a look at her. Oh, she looks white tonight. She did an excellent job, and I hope she's doing a good job tonight, because I can't see sod all what she's putting on that you're looking at. Could be our holiday photos where I'm in my mankini. So, Ooh. Yeah, so, yeah. Manchester Aquatic Centre, drink as much as you want once you've paid to get in. Talking about swimming baths, there was a horrible one in Ashton, an old swimming pool. Now, I like talking about piss and poo. Oh, yes. It's a piss and poo alert. Put it on. Oh, is Mandy's watching?
Yeah,
Piss and poo.
Sorry, Mandy.
I found them icons. They're pretty good, aren't they? Yes. Piss and poo alert. Because the swimming bath was very, very old in Ashton-Under-Lyne, and let's have a look at it now. And it's quite an old building. That's when it was derelict, but it used to be quite something. But they didn't have a water filtration system.
You've got no filtration.
I've got no filtration, that's correct. They had no filtration system, so they used to fill it up once a week from the reservoir. And yeah, you can imagine it was Mondays that they used to empty the old water out and fill it up with the reservoir water, so it's kind of clean. So on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, it was 6 pence to get in, because it was when the water was its freshest. on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, it was only 2p to get in because it was absolutely horrific. If you went on a Sunday night, you might as well go and swimming in the sewers because they all things bobbing about in the water. I tell you that. Let me just tell you something that happened to me as well as a child. I was born and bred in the town of Priests. That's Preston. And there was a swim bath there called Soul Street Swim Bath. So I was a very keen swimmer as a child. Oh, yes. I was in all the swimming clubs. And I remember once, I liked to dive down as far as I could, get my goggles on. And I'd swim right down to the deep end. One day I swam down to that deep end and there's a massive, great big turd on the floor of the, bobbing about on the floor, bobbing about, right? And a pair of swimming trunks by the side of it that somebody took off. And I screamed like you do underwater, trying to hold my breath. And I started to panic and try to get back up as quickly. And it got caught in my wake as I started to go up, and it was following me all the way to the surface. I was screaming and it almost went in my mouth. Absolutely vile. So, yes. Talking about...
I don't think Mandy's ever going to watch again.
I know, it really was bad, yes. Let's just get me auto cue. Yeah, so that was Ashton Swim Baths. Absolutely vile. Talking about dirty water. The water that's in Ashton-Under-Lyne, the river's called the River Tame. And believe me, it's anything but tame. It's actually the name Tame. They think it actually means the dark river or the dark one, referring to the days of Industrial Revolution when all the cotton industry was pouring out all the chemicals into the river. It was so black and polluted. That's how it got the name, the dark one, the dark river, and that's what Tame is supposed to mean. Tame side, the dark side. Yeah, interesting. Yes, just thought of that. Be next week's that one. Yes, so that's how dirty it was. But however, it's still absolutely filthy. Well, one section is in 2018. One section of the riverbed in the Tame, in the actual River Tame, one section of it had more plastic per square metre than anywhere else on Earth. It had 500,000 pieces of plastic to every square metre. The worst in the world. It broke all records. Absolutely filthy. And the other water which goes into... Oh, so I'm just going to say as well, it's believed to be haunted as well, the River Tame. 15 navvies that were employed to build bridges over the water, it collapsed on them. And they were drowned underneath it. And they reckon now, if you go down there on a dark night, walk down the dark river, by the side of the dark one, you might see the navvies walking along, crying, mourning, bubbles. And the other river, well, not a river, it's the Nico ditch, which I talked about in the previous episode, Gorton one. By the way, that's on YouTube if you want to watch it. Yeah, the Nico ditch goes from Stretford and it is in Ashton-Under-Lyne. And it finishes in an area called Ashton Moss. And they used it for growing vegetables. And it only grew the world's best celery, award-winning celery of all things, on that site. I don't know what you think of celery, but I find it a bit hard work. Unbelievably, on that site was a coal mine. Ashton-Under-Lyne had a coal industry, and this is a mine. It had the deep shaft in the world, almost 800 meters deep when it was built. And let's have a look at what a mine shaft looked like. That's the men at the bottom. And, they'd go down on these hydraulic lifts, straight down to the bottom, all that way underground. And then they'd dig tunnels out. And the tunnels led all under Ashton. But when they dug them, they were Billy Bollock naked. Look at them. The men had to take off all the clothes and they were sliding around naked because it was so hot, for one thing. But the second thing was your clothes used to get, caught on the tunnels and things because they were so narrow. So just imagine this. When you go, maybe to the cinema in Ashton, Moss, or to one of the restaurants, just think that there used to be all these men, naked men, all wiggling around in tunnels underneath your feet. Makes you think, doesn't it? Oh, I tell you that. Hey, I think it's time for a drink, don't you? Let's raise our glasses, everybody. Hope you're all right. What have you got? Nice drinks tonight, have you? Got wine, beers? It's time for a little scoop, isn't it? Lovely, lovely. Yes. So where are we up to, Emma? Oh, yes. So this talking of drinking as much as you want to give me a bit of a thirst. I'm missing going to some of the pubs. I don't know about you lot. I mean, you must be desperate like me. I go to so many great pubs on my performances. It's, I build the performances around pubs these days because I love a good drink. Not too much, but just a couple of really nice beers in a really atmospheric pub like the Cracked Actor and places like that, and the Shakespeare Inn and Mozart Bite and many, many others in Chorlton and Didsbury. I really miss, and I think after this we're all going to go on a massive pub crawl probably. All of us. I might just do a Flecky Bennett pub crawl. Let's come on, join me, everybody. But in Ashton, they used to enjoy pub crawls. This is back in the day. They did 2 different festivals. Now we're going to see an old house now, and this was Ashton Hall. Ashton-Old Hall, it was called, wasn't it, Emma?
Yeah.
And what year was it knocked down? You've got it on the picture there.
1890.
1890 it was demolished, and the guy that used to live there, or one of the guys, was called Sir Ralph Ashton, and he was hated. He was hated by his people, the people of Ashton. What he used to do, he used to dress from head to foot in a black suit of armour and ride a black stallion. Let's have a look at him. Quite cool, I reckon. He would have been all right, but he was a bit of a nasty bastard. He hated anything to do with winter. What do we call that thing we have these days, Emma? SAD?
Seasonal adjustment disorder.
Yeah, it was obviously one of the first cases of that, but he took it to an extreme. If he felt cold or saw snow or bad weather or any kind of plants which only came out in winter, it used to infuriate him so much that he would take it out on the nearest peasant he could find. And what he would do, he would get the peasant. He would get a wooden barrel. He would take off the top of the wooden barrel and he would put the peasant inside. Then he would nail the top shut, the peasant screaming and banging. He was quite a good ventriloquist, me. Banging, trying to get out of there. Anyway, wouldn't let him out. Then what he did was quite sadistic. He'd get long, long nails and hammer it from the outside into the barrel. A bit like one of these magicians when they did that thing where they put somebody and put swords through it. He stuck them all the way around. So the guy inside would have to get right into the middle to avoid these spikes. Sounded a bit like Steve Coogan then as Alan Partridge stood on a spike. Anyway, all these spikes are stood in the middle, crouched down in the middle of the barrel to make sure the spikes didn't touch him. Then you think you get away with it at that point, but no. And then what did he do? I'll tell you what he used to do. Only rolled them down a hill. All the way down to the bottom. No, not East End.
Oh, I thought you were doing cliffhanger.
That's one good thing about the coronavirus, isn't it? Straight down, rolling around in the barrel. All them nails would have gone into the poor peasant. And then there was a wooden stopper in barrels. He'd pull it out. I'll do that again. Look at the picture. He'd pull it out. Hey, I think I got it right. Hang on, I'll try it again. Hey! And all the blood would come pouring out of that little hole. So, yeah, it's pretty nasty. And that was Sir Ralph Ashton. And he was so hated that a member of his own family shot him dead on Easter Monday. And then there was a tradition on Easter Monday every year for hundreds of years where they used to build an effigy. Well, it was actually paid for by the Council of Ashton. They built this effigy of the Black Knight. They put it on back of a black stallion and they would parade it around the streets of Ashton. And then they would take it to a bonfire. And I think we're looking at a picture now that's supposed to represent that. They take it to put it on top of a bonfire and they burn it. And all the way as they walked along the streets, people would throw rotten fruit and veg and dog poo and human poo and everything at it, like they used to do with people in the stocks. So, yeah, he would be on that. And then they put him on top of a bonfire and they set fire to the Black Knight of Ashton, just like we do with Guy Fawkes. Then there was another one. There was another pub crawl and festival that they used to have. And then again, it's our good old friend Pooh. Let's have the Pooh alert, Emma. I'll just have a quick drink while you can't see me. Yes, back to me. Pooh alert. It was a thing called, I'm going to have to read this because it's so difficult to understand. It's gist ale. So the second part of the word is A-L-E, as in ale. The first part is G-Y-S-T, gist. Now, the gist is supposed to represent guise. So it's a festival of people in masks, in disguise, walking through the streets of Ashton. And it was a muck spreading festival. So after the muck spreading, I don't know if you know about muck spreading. You know what muck spreading is, don't you? It's when you put shit on the fields, you know. So it was a celebration of muck spreading, led by the fool, which was a jester. And they were always quite strange little characters, as you can see here. And it reminded me straight away. I thought, this sounds like a bloody episode of The Wicker Man, doesn't it? Friends, we all like The Wicker Man, don't we? But he wasn't looking for, what's she called, the little girl?
Rowan Morrison.
Rowan Morrison. I'm looking for Rowan Morrison. It's quite good, that. Rowan Morrison. Yes, so, yeah, they didn't sacrifice a little girl or burn Edward Wood. But yes, talking about little girls, I think it's time to drink first. Thank heavens for little girls. So, there was a little girl. And some of you people that are from Ashton, you might have even known of these streets I'm going to talk about now, but I can't seem to find them. When you put it into any kind of search engine or Google Maps or Safari Maps or Apple or whatever, it doesn't come up with anything. So I assume that all these areas have been knocked down for redevelopment. And yes, the first one is a street called Tatton Street. And well, it looks beautiful, doesn't it? I mean, compared to what they rebuilt in these places, it's quite strange.
It's criminal, isn't
it is criminal. I mean, look at that. It's a wonderful old street. It's a bit like in Ancoats, we've got that wonderful Anita Street, which they've kept, and now it's a fortune to live there. But anyway, that was called Tatton Street. And there's a young family in a terraced house there, mother, father, an older daughter and a younger daughter. We're just going to talk about the younger daughter. Her name was Ellen. Okay, Ellen. And one day, she was only 5, one day the next door neighbour knocked on the door and said, could little Helen please come and look after her little boy while she went out on a quick errand? So she'd obviously done it before. She said, yes, I don't mind. So she went round to the next doors on her own, went up to the bedroom of the little boy called Edward, who was only about a year younger than herself. I think he was 4, she was 5. And she started to tuck him in and read him a story and just have a talk. And then he started talking to her. And he said this to her. He said, actually, I'm going to have a different light. Hang on. Take me back to this one. I've got different lights here. Let's try this one. I think this will be better for this story. Check us back over there. Oh. He said, Ellen, do you know we've got a ghost in our coal shed? She went, what? A ghost? A ghost in your coal shed? He went, yeah, a ghost in our coal shed. And do you know what kind of ghost it is? She went, no, what kind of ghost is it? It's a boggart. A boggart lives in our coal shed. Now, people were terrified of boggarts. Little Ellen, oh, a boggart, a boggart. Oh. And she started uncontrollably crying her eyes out, shaking with fear. She was terrified of this story, terrified of boggarts. And her older sister came next door to take over the babysitting. And she found little Helen in a terrible state, crying and rocking on the end of the bed. There's a boggart, there's a boggart. Anyway, they took her next door back to her mum and dad. They couldn't comfort her. They took her to bed. They tried her best. She cried herself to sleep. The next morning, she was dead, the little girl. The doctor was called. And on her death certificate, it said, died from fright. As the real reason for her death. She was frightened to death, was little Helen, by the boggart. Now, you might be looking at a picture now of what a boggart looks like. They hide under your bed at night. You know when you wake up in the morning and you might find the sheets have been taken off you? You think that you've been probably wiggling about a bit too much in your sleep and it's fallen off? Well, it's not. The boggart has pulled it off. And they've got oh, by the way, about boggarts pulling sheets off. The other night I woke up in the middle of the night, bloody freezing, The quilt was nowhere to be seen. I thought, hang on, there's a boggart here. Only not a boggart, Buggerlugs over there. Let's have a look at her. Buggerlugs over there. There she is. Buggerlugs looks like an extra from Wicked, the musical. Buggerlugs had decided in her wisdom that she was a bit warm to shake it off. So mine was removed by Buggerlugs, not a boggart. But boggarts used to take your sheets off. They used to play with your ears. But their party piece was to put a freezing cold hand onto your face in the middle of the night. Ooh. Let me tell you a little bit of a story. It's only come to me this when I was, excuse me, I've got a bit of wind. Excuse me. All have a burp at the same time, everybody out there, so you don't miss anything. It came to me actually when I was researching this story about boggarts and putting cold hands on your face. This actually happened to me probably when I was about 18 or 19. I think I've been out and had a few drinks on a Friday or Saturday night, had a few scoops, and gone back home, gone to bed, and I must have fallen asleep with me arm up in the air like that. Weird position, I don't like this. And I was fast asleep, and all of a sudden in the night, this freezing cold hand landed on my face. And because my arm was dead, I couldn't feel that it was my arm landing on my face. It was freezing cold. I got all of it, started screaming. Until it came. I mean, we've all had dead arms, but it fell on my bloody face. Oh, it was cold. You know what Billy Connolly said about when you get an arm that goes dead, don't waste it. Yes, so them are boggarts. So the boggart of Tatton Street. Oh, boggarts as well. They are believed. I mean, is this a connection? Is it a connection to Ashton? Boggarts live under ash trees. You make your own mind up there. Who knew? Who knew? So that's boggarts. Let's have a quick drink. Oh, this is nice, isn't it, everybody? Hope you're enjoying yourselves. We have great fun researching these areas. We really do. And give generously. You didn't hear that, but it was subliminal. Yes, did you have it? Raise your glass then on for everybody?
I did.
Oh, I'll tell you.
Don't mistreat me.
No expense spared. Yeah, we've got this new backdrop here. Oh, yes. Very reasonable, only £12.99. Anyway, yeah, I mean, my stories on these performances and on my other performances about the weird, the wonderful and ghost stories. Now, there's not too many ghost stories, unfortunately, connected with Ashton-Under-Lyne. I can only find two, really, and they both involve public houses, which is very handy. The first one is an old pub called the Oddfellas. Now, I think we're going to have a look at the picture of it now. Mm-hmm. Nothing remarkable about it. It had been open for about 300 years and it shut a few years ago. It had been in the same family all that time. And it closed because nobody wanted to take over. His children didn't want to take over, so he closed it down in the end. And they believed it's haunted by, I think, the last landlord, his father and his grandfather. All previous landlords are supposed to haunt the Oddfellas. And it's just the normal things of glasses falling off things and footsteps and stuff like that. So nothing amazing, but the actual name Oddfellas is more amazing than the pub. Now, I tell this story on my Chorlton one, which will be back, who knows when. Maybe Christmas, maybe September, who knows? I'm going to be doing a lot of these. But yeah, in Chorlton, in the Horse and Jockey there, in most pubs, they used to have a thing called the Burial Club. Let's have a look at the Burial Club. And what would happen is you would go and buy a drink and the landlord would keep part of the change. He'd keep part of your change towards your own funeral and your family and friends. So you were drinking, paying. You'd keep a bit of the change and eventually you'd have enough money to pay for your funeral. And eventually most pubs, and as I say, it was called the Burial Society, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Burial Society. Mm. Then it's sort of amalgamated with a bit like the Freemasons, called the Oddfellas. You may have heard of them. And this is what the logo looks like. And then they pay for people that can't afford to be buried. There's no paupers' graves anymore in this country. They will pay for it. And funny enough, their head office is actually in Manchester on Deansgate. They're a worldwide group, but their head office is on Deansgate. So that's a little bit of an interesting story. But the most haunted pub in Ashton-Under-Lyne is one called the Station Hotel. Now, I have some friends. You may have seen the episode they put on a few weeks ago, a special one that I did with them, Ghost Dimensions. I've done a few episodes with them. There's a link on my website to them. And I got most of this research off their episode. So please go and find the episode. I think it's on YouTube. It's on their other channels. Ghost Dimensions did a 2-part investigation. Don't know if any of the guys are on, but we'll see in your comments later. But if you are in here watching, guys, I'm going to give you a plug that... as I say, they did a double episode of an investigation in the States and hotel. Yeah. And, if you want to drop a link on so people can see it on YouTube or whatever. So the Station Hotel. Now, it's haunted by a poltergeist. Poltergeist actually means like a loud ghost or a very active ghost, something which is disruptive. And what seems to manifest itself in the Station Hotel is that the cold taps, well, I don't know if it's just the cold taps, all the taps in the gents' toilets are turned on. Now, they're the kind of taps you have to twist. And in the middle of the night, they're all twisted fully on, all of them, flooding the toilet floor. When the landlady gets up in the morning, she says she could hear the cistern like had been empty because it was making a strange noise. She knows when it's happened, and she has to spend the day mopping up. And they believe it's this poltergeist. And they believe it's from a guy, a regular drinker there, who died in 2001 in a gas explosion. Let's have a look at him. They've got a little plaque on the wall inside the Station Hotel. And as you can see, it says it belongs to Ian Brady. Ian Brady. Can you read it out what it says, Emma?
Ian Edward Brady, Action Man, Gone But Not Forgotten, 18th of November 2001.
Yeah, so he died in a gas explosion in 2001.
That plaque is where he liked to sit as well.
Oh, yeah, and the plaque is where he used to be. That was his regular spot where he used to sit. So they put that there, which is nice. And they believe it could be him trying to make his presence still known in the pub. If you watch the Ghost Dimensions episode, there's quite a lot of weird things, but one of the weirdest things is when they call out his name, I think there's a piano quite close by to the plaque, and it seems to respond. It plays a note when there's nobody playing it a few times. It seems to respond with the name Ian Brady. Now, Ian Brady, well, you all know it's a famous name for infamous reasons, isn't it? And again, from the last one in Gorton, Ashton is also connected to the Moor murderers. So I'm not going to talk a great deal about it again because out of respect for the people that are still alive and relatives. But in Ashton, you may know that there's an outdoor market. It's actually the largest outdoor market in the UK. And in the 1960s, a 12-year-old boy called John Kilbride was earning some pocket money by packing the market stalls up after everybody had gone home. At that point, Myra Hindley, who was born and bred in Gorton here, she approached him and said, could you help me carry these boxes and put them in the back of my car? Being a good boy, he picked them up, went over to the car, put them in, and Ian Brady was in the driving seats, and he turned around and said, can we give you a lift home for helping us? Unfortunately, that little boy never got home. They drove him up to the moors, and, well, you can read about it online. There's films about it. That little boy was from Ashton, and he's also buried in Ashton Cemetery. So it's connected to the Moor murderers, just like Gorton is. And if you need to know about the connection with the Gorton one, please watch it on the YouTube channel and give generously, if you can, on the virtual tip jar. So yes, serial killers. Let's have another drink before I tell you a completely and horrible and gory story. So, my friends, I think it's time for the red light. I like this red light, unlike Roxanne. Let's have a look at you lot in there. Let's have a look at you first. How are you all doing? And then we'll just have a little bit of a Q&A. Is that possible before we do the next story?
Can do.
Is there anybody that's left anything that I can just pick up on?
Oh, let's have a nosy.
Like my moustache, I've waxed it. Joe, are you proud? Or your moustache has been cut off? Sorry? You what?
It doesn't matter.
Where's my pipe? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh.
Stuart and Helen are on.
I'll tell you what. I'll get it in a minute. Okay, I'll get it in a minute. I have this regular couple. Well, it's a gang of them actually. Stuart and Helen and their gang. And I did a private ghost walk for them. So I do private ones when I'm back up and running. And I did the Saturday night one, which goes around Castlefield and Campfield. Do you know where it is, Emma?
Yeah.
And as I was telling them the stories, I'd say, and it's believed that Sir Lancelot fought here one of the Knights of the Round Table. And every time I came out with a story, they all got pipes out of their pockets. None of them smoke them, just pipes, and all got them out like Sherlock Holmes. I don't think Emma can find it.
It's not in there.
I'll just leave it. Doesn't matter, Emma. I'll get it myself after.
Right.
Come and sit down. Yeah, so they all had these pipes. And every time I came out with anything, they get the pipes out going, interesting. It really, I tell you, get yourself a pipe off eBay. They're only a couple of quid. Not for smoking, but when you've got a problem, or even if you're worried about the coronavirus and you're going, interesting, it makes you feel really important. So we'll get the pipe after. Any other quick questions before we go into...
Yeah, Joshua Crowther, what's the scariest place you've ever been?
Scariest place I've ever been? Oh. Well, I think it's the old Underground in Manchester when it used to be open. The old original Underground, which was under the Great Northern Warehouse where the cinemas are and stuff now. If you ever go in there and you keep to the ground level and keep walking along in a straight line, you'll come to a glass window. It looks like a little office, but you'll see there's a camera and it's filming the Underground. It was 160 foot. Used to take the audiences down into these tunnels. And you could walk along the drained canal beds, and there was a witch house down there and all sorts of weird stuff. But I judge things how scary it is by, do I like being down there on my own? And I could not be down there. I had people working for me on that one because I just didn't want to be on my own down there. Most of the places I'm quite happy about being on my own, but not in the original Underground location. It felt like somebody was always watching, always stood behind, because it was quite a long distance. Well, it was about probably a mile in tunnels, and you could see things running at you. The air raid shelters as well in Stockport, I forgot about that. At the beginning, before the audience arrive, I have to put a few props out. And I go on my own, and that is bloody terrifying in them tunnels in the air raid shelter. So, talking about scary things, this scared me. So, you've got the more murderers, serial killers. But let me tell you about somebody who became very famous, and she was from Ashton-Under-Lyne. Well, she wasn't actually. I tell a lie. She was born in Bolton. Her name was Mary Ann Britland. Mary Ann Britland. And born in Bolton, got married in Bolton, but then they moved to Ashton-Under-Lyne. They moved to a house on Turner Lane, which I think you're going to have a look at now. This is Turner Lane.
No, yeah, you didn't put it in.
Didn't put it in, sorry. Anyway, Turner Lane.
Well, this is Mary.
And this is, well, that's what she looks like. That's Mary Britland, Mary Ann Britland. She lived they moved to Turner Lane in Ashton. And you won't find it. Again, it's been knocked down, and it's probably, even going back to them days, it was a slum. It was overrun with mice. She hated living there, but she made the best of a bad situation. She had 2 daughters, and then she fell in love with her neighbour. Her neighbour's husband, should I say, or the man next door who was married. She fell in love with him, and they started having a secret affair. Now, her eldest daughter caught them having a kiss and a cuddle, and she was just about to tell her father about what she found when others doing. She became very ill, started shaking. Her mother took her up to her bedroom, and her mother sat by the bedside for 2 solid days. Unfortunately and tragically, her daughter died. The doctor came and examined the body and of spasms of the heart. So terrible to lose a child, and it was a real heartbreaking. And she was crying. She was really upset. She just about got over it, and then she had a double tragedy. Her husband also died suddenly, and on his death certificate, the doctor put he died of epilepsy. So her next door neighbour that she's having an affair with, his wife took pity on her, and they invited him in most nights to have dinner with them, looking after them because of the double heartache she'd gone through. Little did she know that she sat at the table with the wife, she's having an affair with her husband. But it didn't last for long, that, because what happened next was the neighbour's wife passed away suddenly. Now at this point, people were thinking, a bit strange that 3 people have died so closely together. Now, there was a tradition in Ashton, and I don't know if it's anywhere else in the country. I can't seem to find it anywhere else. But there was a member of the local neighbourhood, just one person who was employed to go into the houses and lay the bodies. We basically, tidy them up, put them so they look nice, so people could go on for wakes and stuff like that. There was one person, there was a woman called Carol, and she used to go from each house laying out the bodies. But she realised that something strange was happening with the bodies, that she had them 3 bodies, with the daughter, the husband, and the next door neighbour. They had their fists clenched like this. Now, a really tight fist is a sign of being poisoned. So she thought about this and thought, there's only one poison which does this to people with tight fists. It's a poison called strychnine. Now let me just tell you a little bit about strychnine. Now listen, poisoning was big business. Fellas out there, if you upset your wives or your girlfriends, if you really upset them, they could, and they quite often did, poison their husbands. The housewife's choice of weapon was arsenic, because you could put it bit by bit into food and drink, and your husband or partner would die slowly, and it would avoid suspicion. But strychnine is something really, really powerful. You really want them gone if you put strychnine in the food, because within 20 to 30 minutes of it being digested, you get spasms in the neck and the head, uncontrollable spasms. And then it starts to move its way down the body, and all your body starts to tremor and shake. It gets so bad that within hours, you've exhausted yourself. You're completely and utterly exhausted. So exhausted that you stop breathing. You can't breathe anymore. You can't take. And the final death throes of strychnine were that your back arches, and you die with your back arched and your fist clenched and a horrible expression on your face. Here's a famous picture. It's a famous painting, this, of somebody that died of strychnine poisoning. So, as you can see, this woman was quite suspicious, so she told the police what she'd seen on these 3 bodies. So they took a little bit of interest. And most people didn't have a post-mortem on them days, you know, but they insisted to have a post-mortem before she was buried on her next-door neighbour. And they found strychnine in her stomach. Then they thought, hang on a minute, we need to investigate this further. So they went to the graveyard. They dug up, that's exhumed, the bodies of her daughter and her husband. Mary's daughter and husband were brought back up to the top. They analysed the stomach. They found strychnine in the stomach lining and in the tissue around the bodies. So at that point, you know, they said, you're arrested on suspicion of all these 3 murders. She pleaded and said, no, I bought that strychnine to poison the mice, and she had visited the chemist on 3 occasions before each of the poisonings to buy strychnine to poison the mice. That's what she said it was. So then she was taken to the court in Manchester, and she was tried by Justice Cave. What a name. Judge Cave was a judge. So she was in the courtroom. She pleaded her innocence. The jury were a bit undecided until the judge had a quiet word with them, and then they came back with the guilty verdict. At that point, the Judge Cave, he entered the room with a black cap on his head. Now that black cap was a sort of an advance warning. Everybody in that courtroom knew that the death sentence was going to be passed. It wouldn't be a shock for the jury. It wouldn't be a shock for the people watching. It wouldn't be a shock for the defendant, the accused, sorry. It wouldn't be a shock for anybody. That black hat said it all. The black cap represented, well, black is the colour of mourning, and it's the colour of death. And the judge put the cap on his head as respect to God, saying, I know that you're the only person who has the right to give life and take life away, and I respect that. That's why the cap is on the head. And then the judge said to her, you are guilty. You'll be taken to this place, back to the prison where you've just been. And then you will be taken from that place to a place of your execution, where you will be hung by the neck until you are dead, dead, dead. And may God have mercy upon your soul. She was taken to Strangeways. And in Strangeways, they had an actual execution shed. Let's have a look at Strangeways. That's Strangeways. You may all know it, actually. You may have all seen it on the skyline of Manchester. You may have seen that tower. A lot of people think that's like one of them watchtowers or where they shoot people off. It's actually a ventilation tower, ironically enough. But inside Strangeways was an execution shed, a horrible small room with a trap door and a noose. Now, Mary was in Strangeways for 3 weeks. She put in that an appeal towards her death sentence. She was hoping that she'd get a reprieve. Her executioner was a man called James Berry. Now, he was the executioner all through the country. There was only one that used to go from prison to prison, because executions weren't every day. There were maybe like a couple every month at different prisons. Always at 8 a.m. in the morning, so quite a gory thing. Spot on, 8 a.m. all the executions took place. That's when you knew you were going to die, 8 a.m. James Berry was the executioner 2 times before Pierpoint. There's a film about Pierpoint, and what's he called? Timothy Spall, who we talked about in the Gorton one. He plays Pierpoint, and he had this record that he could get the person from the death cell to dead within 17 seconds. James Berry tried to do it about 3 minutes. It would take him to get him from the cell to dead. 3 minutes. That's what he liked to do. Even though it was such a barbaric thing, even the executioners didn't want the accused to suffer. So anyway, I went inside her room on the morning of the execution. A piece of paper came along saying that she hadn't been pardoned. It had to go through. Throughout them 3 weeks, she hadn't been eating. She was hysterical all the time. When that letter came through saying it's been denied, you've got to come with me now. I'm going to take you to the execution shed. She was screaming and crying and shaking, and, well, you can just imagine. It must have been absolutely terrifying, but, you know, justice, I suppose. He had to get 2 female wardens to hold her up at either side, just to pick her up off the floor. And they carried her, dragged her along to the execution shed. At that point, he'd already measured her and weighed her, so he knew that it was a 9-foot drop of rope he needed, that it would break her neck. If you give them too much rope, it pulls their head off. If you don't give them enough rope, they strangle slowly. You've got to weigh them and measure them to make sure that the drop snaps their neck. So first of all, he bound her ankles together. Then he bound her wrists behind her back. All this time she's on her knees on top of the trapdoor. Then he put the hood over her head, put the noose around her neck, and 2 burly prison wardens, 2 men, came at either side of her, got their arms under her arms and lifted her up. Her feet were off the floor, but at least she was in a position over the trapdoor. Said, have you any final words? She said, God have mercy upon my soul. That's all she said. And the executioner, James Berry, just indicated to the 2 prison wardens that were stood on the trapdoor with her that in 1, 2, 3, step back and you'll fall through it. She fell straight through that.
My sister, sit and think, while yet some hours on earth are left to thee. Kneel to thy God, who does not from thee shrink, and lay thy sins on Christ, who died for thee.
Pretty gory. James Berry said that she died instantly. It snapped her neck. And just to make sure that these hanging victims were actually dead, they used to leave them hanging there for 1 hour after their execution. And then they would just cut the rope and lower them into a coffin, and then they were buried in the grounds of the prison. Mary was the first woman to be hung at Strangeways, and Ashton-Under-Lyne's only serial killer. A horrible, gory story. Now, James Berry has a book, and I think you're looking at it now.
Mm-hmm.
And that book You can find it. Just go searching on the internet. You will find it somewhere. I haven't found it for free. I think it's some kind of like a public library. And it's his story of being an executioner. And it's an absolute fascinating read. It really goes into detail. It's very macabre. I know a lot of you people like that out there love stuff like that. It was making me a bit, ooh, because I like talking about it, but when you start thinking about execution and stuff, even he couldn't keep his food down beforehand. You know, he was in a terrible state before and after these executions. He'd go into great detail of what used to happen, how he used to time himself and stuff like that. But he has quite a big section on Mary in his book. He said that she was guilty as well, by the way, because she confessed to her younger daughter and her mother the night before that she was guilty of the crime, secretly to them. Nobody knew about it apart from them. James Berry says that she was one of the worst people he ever had to hang because she was pleaded for her life. She screamed and cried all the way to the noose. People that heard her scream said it sounded like her life was already leaving her body. It was that horrific. And he says in the book that he's hung many people. Some people have, you know, murdered somebody by mistake. You know, they've had a fight and manslaughter, but they still be hung for it. And these men and women that they kind of thought, well, I deserve it. I didn't mean to kill it, but a life for a life. And they would walk to them gallows. They would stand there proud. They would put the rope around the neck and they would make no sound. They would just accept their fate. He said it's always the evil ones. Always ones who do the worst crimes are the ones which put up most resistance at the end of the day. So that concludes, my friends, of our time in Ashton-Under-Lyne. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you people from Ashton have learnt some things. Oh, yes. So this is on for an hour and 15 minutes, this, so I thought we'll have a 15-minute Q&A session. If you have enjoyed it, please, please, please virtually tip me, because, as I say, we have no income at all. 13th of March was the last performance, and we don't know how long this is going to last for, do we? There's rumours going around that it could be September, it could be Christmas, so if you could help us, keeping Flecky Bennett Productions afloat. Well, as I say, we are on bread and butter, not gruel now, but we'd like to have a bit of ham for next week, if possible. So let's have a bit of a Q&A. So who have we got?
Don't forget you need to wish Melanie Lockhart.
Oh, Melanie Lockhart. Let's go on to this private camera so I can just talk to Melanie on our own.
Okay, there we go.
Hey, Melanie, it's just me and you now. Melanie Lockhart. When was your birthday? When was your birthday?
It was a couple of days ago.
A couple of days ago. Well, happy spooky birthday for a couple of days ago, love. Just between you and me. So, yeah, so have we got any questions anybody would like to ask? How are you all doing? That's what I want to know. I really, 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 really miss all you Fleckers and Fleckettes. And I had some great emails and messages last time of people that never seen me before, have wanted to come on the performances but live too far away, people from other countries. And it's a pleasure doing this, really, and making the connection and finding out about these amazing places in Manchester. I mean, maybe some of you knew some of them things about Ashton. I knew none of it. You know, I really didn't know any of it until I started research. I've been there many a time, but have I researched it? Have I heck? One day, you never know, we might do a ghost walk. These things that I'm doing now, maybe, you know, I'll take them one day and we can turn them into a bigger performance out on the actual streets. You know, it's just working out whether them places are safe to go on a Friday and Saturday night. I don't know what Ashton's like these days. Have we got any questions?
Yeah, Luke Baines. Flecky, how long did it take to grow your moustache?
Well, quite a few years now, actually. But I used to trim it. You know. And but then I thought, ooh, all the fashion started to be, you know, using wax on it, didn't it? And putting it up. So this has been growing about 8 years, I suppose. When I first started Flecky Bennett, I was very clean shaven and nothing. And then I had a little tash and a little bit of there. And then I started growing this. And but most of the time in between, I'm not even shaving, so I've just got a beard again. But yes, and then there's a bit of a competition going on because a lot of people have got these tashes. There's a guy that owns a cracked actor called Joseph. And he's got the most amazing twirly moustache, you know. But he's younger than me. You can keep it up longer. What else have we got? Anything else from people?
Tara Danes. Flex, would you want to come back and haunt someone if you could?
Oh, hey. Who would I like to haunt? Well, saying haunt somebody is somebody that you don't like, isn't it, really, I suppose? So, it's a tough one. Who do we not like? Trump. Let's come back and haunt Trump. It's ridiculous, isn't it, when they come out with today? Drinking bleach and all that shite. No, it's an odd thing to say, isn't it, really? But I think haunting people, well, it'd be great anyway, wouldn't it? Because you'd be able to sneak everywhere. You'd be like being the Invisible Man, wouldn't it? Well, the sights you could see if you could haunt people. But I don't really detest anybody that much. I can't think of it. I've pretty much, gone through life, relaxed. Oh, I'll tell you who I would like to haunt. And I don't know, take me on to this, we'll have a private word. Talking about boggarts before. Trolls. Not the monster kind of trolls. Well, they are. Them ones that come onto Facebook and stuff like that. I got a few last time on the Gorton one. Some of you might be familiar with a few months ago when I had one, a troll from beyond the grave in Chorlton. He actually contacted me and said it was rubbish what I did and it's nonsense and came out with a load, and maybe some of you remember it. And he actually said, I've got a grave in the cemetery with my name on it. I don't know what that's meant to mean because this gravestone was buried in the 1800s, so I think I was trolled beyond the grave. But yeah, I'd like to come back and haunt trolls, because but the thing is, never respond to them. So if a troll has been on this post tonight, putting bits of shit on like they did last time, just ignore them. Best thing to do is click on their link and just have a look at them. Oh my God, you'll laugh your bollocks off. Trolls are the most ugliest gets you've ever seen. They're actually uglier than trolls, the monsters. So that's what I'd like to haunt. Trolls who can't do that with their own lives. Any other questions?
It's Emma Broad's birthday today. If you can wish her.
Hello, Emma Broad. How you doing? Are you all right? I've seen her on a performance, haven't I? I can't remember which one it was. I'm sure I have. But anyway, I hope you've had a good day. It's a bit weird, isn't it, having a birthday in lockdown? But I tell you something. My birthday's in lockdown every bloody year because I know Flecky Bennett's 500 years old, but my birthday is the 27th of December. So my birthday is locked down every year. Nothing's open. Nobody wants to go out. Everybody's skipping from Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Everybody's saving up for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. My birthdays have been in lockdown all my life. And if your mum's watching, I don't blame you. It's not your fault.
But you do get a Flecky birthday now.
But I get a Flecky birthday as well. When's that, August?
Like the Queen.
When is it?
13th of July.
13th of July is my Flecky birthday. I'm 11 this year. 11. And a marvellous cake. Some of you may remember the cake. We've still got the cake topper, which was created by Chelsea Shoesmith, a wonderful photographer, but my God, her sideline of making cake toppers is amazing. We've got it in one of them glass cloches. They are cloches, aren't they? Yeah. And we put some of them, things you get in shoes and
Silica
stuff.
Gel.
Silica gel packs that you get in boxes. We put some of them in, and it's kept it perfectly. So, yes, happy birthday to you, Emma. Any other things we could talk about?
Yeah, Gemma Tucker, are you going to do anything on Middleton?
Maybe, because there's a real good story to Middleton already, because we have a grave robber. Our most famous grave robber was from Middleton. It was called Old Kanky. Pops up in lots of my tours because of grave robbing, and he used to rob all over the place in Didsbury and everywhere. He was very prolific, just like Burke and Hare. So Middleton's a good link for that. So maybe we know what we're going to do next time, the place we're going to go to. And I'm thinking, some of you may know that I started a Paris ghost walk. Oh yes, Flecky Bennett, Paris, London, Manchester, you name it. Well, the concept was 3 years ago, actually. And I did some rehearsals. Me and Emma went over there and practiced it because nobody else is doing a ghost walk in Paris. Only around Halloween time, not on a regular basis. And nobody got the website address of parisghostwalk.com, so I bought it. And I've wrote the script. And then Brexit happened. And all that time that we were in limbo, my equity, my union didn't know what you need for an actor to work abroad. And we still don't know until it's sorted out. So it's very unlikely that I'm ever going to do the Paris Ghost Walk. So I'm thinking of, let's do it, a virtual Paris Ghost Walk. Come and see, we can't leave the blooming country. See, we're all missing out on our holidays. By the way, me and Emma are supposed to be in Amsterdam now. We've been on holiday all week in Amsterdam. But couldn't get any bloody money back. Anyway, but that's beside the point. So yes, we're going to take you all with us to Gay Paris. So I think you might like that. If you would, give us a thumbs up to the Gay Paris. Let's go to Gay Paris. But week after, we're going to another area of Manchester. But Middleton, very big possibility.
Heather, now, bear with me. Parch Hot Sings.
Oh, yes. Part thing.
Yes, she says, Flecky, can you say congratulations to Flecky'S, Sophie and Danny expecting their first baby?
Sophie and Danny. Oh, expecting brilliant. They're the most nicest people, the Panchart sings. I know, it's a complicated. You have to have a shortened version, but they come on all my performances. Wonderful. I think Greek, was it Greek Cypriot or Greek? Greek, I think it's Greek, isn't it? But absolutely wonderful. And congratulations. And I'll be waiting for that child to turn 18 to come on one of my performances. Oh, yes. I'll be waiting for you. What time are we on, Emma?
We are on 6 minutes past 9.
Oh, we've got time for another couple of questions. Come on, my friends. Give generously. Tip jar. Subliminal. You didn't hear that?
Matt Darren, is there any haunted venues you'd love to explore?
Well, I really wanted to go in the Albert Hall, to be perfectly honest. Years ago, you know the Albert Hall in Manchester? Wonderful music venue now. Well, not now, because it's shut, like everything else. Bongo's Bingo, you probably know it from most of you if you go bongoing. But yes, it's the most haunted public house in Europe, built on an old burial ground. It was the biggest Methodist church in the world, and it was derelict. It used to be above Brannigan's, and there's an episode of Most Haunted about Brannigan's, which is the most watched in the country. Bit on my Ghost Walk. If you come on my original Ghost Walk, I take you outside it, I talk about it. But for years and years and years, it was derelict upstairs, and I almost got the use of it to take people around, but they just sold it at the very last minute, and then they changed it into the Albert Hall now. And then they said, yes, you can hire it, Flecky. Yes, you can, by all means. It's $5,000 per hour. I thought, oh, well, I'd have to charge a bit for my tickets. So that is one place that I regret. But I get to talk about it outside and stuff. So, you know, what can you do? There's always places I can think of, though, but not at the moment. Anything else for me, Emma?
Yes, Scott King. Where's the next place planned, and what's your next date? And will these carry on after lockdown, because they totally should?
Well, thank you for that. That's really... I'm not going to say where the next one is, because I think it's a bit of a surprise, but we know where it's going to be. It's just outside Manchester again. It's probably the same distance, a bit like Ashton. There was a bit of a clue before. There was a bit of a clue when I said, if you give us more, if you can contribute to the tip jar, next week we might be able to add something else onto our bread and butter. There's a bit of a clue there for you. So if you watch it back, you might get it. The next one's going to be not next Friday, Friday after. And that's going to be this one that I was just talking about. And yeah, I think I'd like to carry them on because, as I said before, there's so many interesting facts, but sometimes not enough for people to wander out to an area, not enough for a 2-hour performance, but enough for doing like an hour on Facebook Live. So
and there's people that can't.
Yeah, true. There's people that want to come on my performances which aren't very good at walking or wheelchairs, and unfortunately, if you want to get into the really good areas, you've got to go up and down cobbles and steps and stairs, and it's just not possible for these people to come along on most times. But yes, I'd like to keep these going. I've got a few new ones that I'm creating though. Like for instance, we've got Ordsall Hall, which we've got to write, but I don't think it's going to be happening this year the way it's going on. So we put that on the back burner for now. But all those people that have bought tickets, by the way, that's what I want to say as well. A lot of you have bought tickets. They're all postponed when you bought the tickets, and they'll be used on the next one as soon as we start again. I believe today they were saying that something like hairdressers and stuff like that might be opening in September. That means they can have small gatherings of people in a small location, which probably covers me. They're talking about large events, could be Christmas time. So don't worry, I've got all your things. It's held in a pot by Eventbrite. It's all there. As soon as we get them, I'm going to give you an opportunity to which ones you want to change. You might even want to change performance to another one, but it's all there. I've got a record of everybody, and we'll just have to see what happens. The next one that's coming up, there's a big one that's the boat cruise, you know, my ghost ship sort of thing. But I can't see it happening at this point, but everything will be frozen, and then we'll carry it on as soon as we can. So yes, that's the answer. I'd like to carry them on. They're great fun. We spent a bit of money, only a bit of money on the backdrop, and we've kind of worked out how to use the cameras properly. So let's have a go on this camera, just to use them all. Yeah, we've worked out to use them properly now, and trying to get the sound right. And I don't think we didn't have much dry ice tonight, did we?
We didn't.
Oh, let's have a little bit now before we go. Let's get on money's worth.
And just while you're on that one,
yes.
Question from Mark Coffey. Like the drink, only not spelt the same. I see your picture. Are these on YouTube for people to watch again?
They are, definitely. I'll leave this one on tonight on Facebook, and then if I get a chance later tonight, I will upload it onto YouTube. And you can find them all. You can find everything you need to find on the website, manchesterghostwalk.co.uk. There's a Facebook Live tab, it says. There's a page all about what I'm doing with these events. There's the very important donation button if you want to leave us a tip. So you can leave either with just PayPal, or you can use a debit or credit card if you don't want to use PayPal. And the Gorton one's on there. It's had quite a few hundred views so far on there, which is really good. Then I'll put the next one on, and then the next one will be put on there after we've done that. So yes, so thank you for asking me that, and here's a bit more dry ice. Just one more question, I think, Emma. Let's go over to the other camera.
Oh, let's find one.
A little bit more dry ice.
One more question. Adele Kent, does anything scare you? Me.
Yeah, Boogaloo scares me. Seeing how many people die each day of coronavirus is scaring me. You know.
Yeah.
I was talking to Emma about this, and it's hard. You can't get your head around it, can you? It's like when you have these famines and floods and hundreds of thousands of people die in one go. Your brain just can't cope with it, can it? It just separates the detail. You just cannot contain it. Your brain does not allow you to take it on too much, because if it did, what would you do? You know, and every day I'm watching these numbers, and they are going in the right direction. They're going down now. But still, you know, you think to yourself, I'm actually glad that only 700 have died today, or 600 have died, but that's 600 people. I can't, you know, that does frighten me. But as long as we're still here and you're still here and we're trying to keep as well as we can, that's all we can do, isn't it? I was thinking as well, you know, there'll be ghost walks in 50 years' time that'll be talking about, because on my performance, like the Didsbury one and quite a few other ones, I take you to plague pits, I take you to places where people, mass burial grounds. You know, when you think about it, it's going to happen, isn't it, that people are going to be doing ghost tours. I won't do it out of respect, because it'd be too close to the time that I've gone through it with everybody else. But in 100 years' time, people are going to be talking about this, aren't they? It's quite, that does frighten me. But let's not leave on let's have one more question. Can we leave on a better note than that or not? Let's have a little drink. Look at that, I'm empty.
Oh dear.
Well, it's been great seeing you all. I think are we at 8:15 anyway?
9. Yeah, just coming
Sorry,
up.
9:15. God, that was so much fun. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please donate on the virtual tip jar. I thank the people so much that donated last time, and if you could do it again.
I will get round to all your comments.
Yeah, and Emma will get back to you with all your comments and stuff.
Respond to you all, and thank you all.
I've had a wonderful time, and thank you so much for donating last time. Thank you for donating this time. I don't see it until I finish, and hopefully we'll have some ham to put on to our sandwiches next week. Bit of a clue there for you. Okay, my friends.
You know what time it is?
It's Flecky time.
It's Flecky, it's Friday, it's Flecky Bennett Friday, it's Flecky, it's Friday, it's Flecky's Fright Night.